Inverse trig functions are used when trying to find a missing angle. First, some quick review of sine, cosine, and tangent. Remember we learned SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so that would be SOH, so. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, that would be the CAH, CA. And tangent is opposite over adjacent, and that's where we get the TOA. SOHCAHTOA. Now, if we flip these upside down, we get cosecant, secant, and cotangent. Cosecant is sine upside down, so it's HO. Secant is cosine upside down, so it's H over A. And cotangent is simply tangent upside down, which is adjacent over opposite. So if you go with SOHCAHTOA, then when we have the cosecant, secant, and cotangent, you just go backwards, you're good. All right, moving on to new material. An inverse cancels out the trig function. It's doing the opposite. For example, if you need to get rid of a sine, you would say sine inverse. And what's going to happen is the sine and the sine inverse are going to cancel each other out, leaving you with just the x. It'd be the same thing as saying if I had 5x is equal to 15. Well, how do you get rid of the 5 in front of the x? You do the opposite by dividing. So if I had cosine of x is equal to 1/2, and I need to solve for x, I do the opposite. Well, what's the opposite of a cosine? The opposite of a cosine is simply a cosine inverse. And you write the little -1 there. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. What happens is the cos inverse and the cos cancel each other out, simply giving you x is equal to cos inverse of 1/2. And then you just plug that into your calculator. Last video we covered sine, cosine, and tangent of 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. X is equal to 60. Now, if you remember before, we said cosine of 60 degree angle is equal to 1/2. I want you to notice how these are backwards. Cosine of a 60 degree angle is 1/2, and the cosine inverse of 1/2 is equal to a 60 degree angle. So we just said cos inverse of 0.5, which is the same as 1/2, is equal to 60. And that one you should know from memory. Now, tan inverse of 3.2. We can't do that in our head, so what you do is you plug it into your calculator. And when you plug it into your calculator, you should get 72.65. Now, if you got a different number, check in your calculator and make sure that you have degrees. So at the top of your calculator, you might have a little D up there in a box, or you might have something that says DEG. If it says RAD or GRAD, then it's wrong. You need degrees in order to get these answers right. Now, for all of these questions, they're going to want us to complete the triangle, meaning find all the missing angles and sides. I have one side that's 6. I have the hypotenuse that's 10. And notice that is the hypotenuse because it is opposite the 90 degree angle. And we're missing the other side. You need to know your Pythagorean triples. And the most common Pythagorean triple is a 3, 4, 5 right triangle. If we look at this picture, I have 6, 10. This is a 3, 4, 5 right triangle that's been multiplied by 2. So my missing side is 8. 3, 4, 5 that had been multiplied by 2, which gives us a 6, 8, 10 right triangle. Make sure that you review the video that talks about the Pythagorean triples and that you know the Pythagorean triples by heart. If you don't know them, you can still use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Moving on to the angles. Right here I have angle theta. I also have the 6 and I have the 10. Now, I'm not going to use the 8 for the simple reason that I always try to use the numbers they give me and not the numbers that I calculated. I know I got this right, but just to be safe, I always use the numbers that they give me whenever possible. Coming from theta, if I'm using the 6 and the 10, I know the 10 is automatically my hypotenuse, and that makes the 6 adjacent or next to my theta. If I have hypotenuse and adjacent, I know I'm going to use cosine, which gives me 6 over 10. Now I can go ahead and reduce that and rewrite it. Cos theta is equal to 3/5. In order to solve for the theta, I do the opposite, which the opposite of cosine is cos inverse. What you do to one side, you do to the other. That leaves you with cos inverse of 3/5. At this point, you plug this directly into your calculator, which gives you theta is equal to 53.13. I know this angle right here is 53.13. Now there's two ways of finding the other missing angle, which I'm going to designate x. You can use sine for the opposite and the hypotenuse and do this process again, or you can simply remember all triangles have 180 degrees in them and simply subtract. The missing angle is 36.87. So now I've completely solved the triangle. I have one angle that's 53.13, another angle that's 36.87, and the missing side is 8. Here's another one. They want us to finish the triangle. I'm going to start with the side. This is not a Pythagorean triple, so that means I have to use the Pythagorean theorem. My missing side is the square root of 17. Now I'm going to find theta. Let's look at the two sides they gave us. They gave us the opposite and they gave us the adjacent. If I'm using opposite and adjacent, that means I need TOA, tangent, opposite, and adjacent. I use the tan inverse to cancel out the tangent and free the theta, giving me theta is equal to tan inverse of 1/4. After I plug that into the calculator, I'm left with theta is equal to 14.04. Then if I want to find the missing side, there's 180 degrees in all triangles, and I subtract from there, giving me the final angle as 75.96. Here again, they gave me two sides, and I have to go back and find the third. Since this isn't a Pythagorean triple, we're going to have to use the Pythagorean theorem. I know that my hypotenuse is opposite to 90, so that's the C. Giving me my missing side as 5.68. Now I also need to find angles X and Y. I'm going to use the numbers that they gave me. That way I don't have to worry about rounding error or any other errors for that matter. And it doesn't matter whether you use the X or the Y, because no matter what, you're going to use tangent. So I'm going to go ahead and go off of the X. Tangent of angle X, opposite angle X is 5. Remember, opposite is always the one you draw a straight line to. And the adjacent to angle X is the curved line, which is 2.7. In order to free the X, we take the inverse of both sides, leaving me with X is equal to tan inverse of 5 divided by 2.7. Then you simply plug that into your calculator, and you get X is equal to 61.63. So X, this angle right here. Now to find angle Y, I can simply subtract from 180, leaving me with 28.37. One last one here. Try to do this on your own and check back in to see if you get it right. You should have gotten the hypotenuse as the square root of 7, angle D as 32.31, and angle F as 57.69.